that's where that sequence ends. So this is a pretty exciting start to like this new arc that we're getting into with the Neo Heroes, I guess, competing against the Heroes. So first of all, where did Saitama take a Mind Mask? Like I said before, we don't know. He took him somewhere safe so that he can lie low for a while for things to blow over. Since he is public enemy number 1. But then we have another question, and it's like, what would have happened if Blue were to fight Genos? And to be honest, I don't really know. Both of them are kind of at an ambiguous level of power. While Genos was extremely powerful in Monster Association form, whatever you call it, his 10-second power mode, he doesn't have that anymore. He's now lightning form Genos. And I think the last time that we saw him like kind of get into a fight at all was off panel, I suppose, because he's talking to Saitama at the end of chapter 209. He says that he ran into a monster and he won, but it was a fairly strong demon level threat, so he didn't come out unharmed. So Genos in this form is still kind of like struggling against high demons, I guess. Yes, he can beat them, and maybe he could like super high dip a dragon if he needed to, but he's not as strong as I guess you would think he would be. Now as for Blue, this is the only time we've ever seen him do anything. We don't know what he's capable of. We just know that he does have a suit on, and that when he removes the limiter on it, he's fast enough to almost catch up with like a cat on the side top. But first, let's talk about our favorite Japanese snack subscription box, and that's Tokyo Treat, because this month's box is Snackin' Wonderland. And this box is packed with berry treats and seasonal surprises, because Japan doesn't mess around with this. First I tried these Silent Night salted butter truffles. It's like these rich ganache balls paired with a salty, crunchy butter biscuit center. Oh my god. Then I tried these Falala French salad potato chips. These are so good. They have like this tangy vinegar punch to them. You can't stop eating. Then I tried this Merry Melon bread. It's super fluffy. It has like creamy melon filling inside. It is delectable. Then I tried the double berry Kit Kats. Oh my god, guys. I don't even really care for raspberries and strawberries, but whatever they did, they knocked it out of the park because these are truly incredible. This is like a real Christmas treat. And speaking of that, guys, if you're looking to get a holiday gift for you or your loved ones, look no further than a Tokyo Treat box. They make incredible gifts. You can get yours by checking the link in the description, and you can get $5 off your first box by using code ZONIN. Thanks, guys. Now, this suit that he's wearing is essentially like the Neo Heroes suit. We saw the Neo Heroes getting fitted for this, especially Suiryu, but I'm sure this is like a special suit. It's probably not the same exact one. Now, also, him being the son of Blast, it makes you wonder, like, does he have the same abilities as Blast? And this isn't a spoiler when I say this. Just in my opinion, it doesn't seem like he does. Because if he did, he would have just used them to, you know, wormhole Saitama or wormhole to catch up with him. Or he just would have manipulated space-time in some way, the way that Blast does, right? So I guess he doesn't have access to those powers, at least maybe yet. Maybe it's something that he has to unlock. The verdict is still out with Blue. Let me also mention that, like, it's still not, like, 100% confirmed that Blue is even truly the son of Blast. I mean, yes, they do have the same eyes, but Blast hasn't, like, come out and said, yep, he's my son. And that's not a spoiler either, because, you know, Blast hasn't even been revealed in the webcomic yet. I will just say that, considering what we're seeing of Blue here, it seems like he is for sure S-class level, whatever you want to take away from that. Now, once we're coming into the second half of this chapter, we're coming to Saitama's neighbors at the Hero Association, Forte, Butterfly DX, and Chain and Toe. And it's revealed that they have been offered to join the Neo Heroes. And they're just going over how everything at the Neo Heroes is said to be better. And they're conflicted as to whether they should leave or not, because it almost seems too good to be true, I suppose. But then also they're like, you know, who's going to take care of Rover? Because he's kind of been left in their care by Saitama. And most of them, or at least definitely Forte, is aware that Saitama is looking for a while. So they like kind of serving. But this is mainly supposed to show us that Neo Heroes are trying to actively sabotage the Heroes by pulling their heroes away from them. And it's not even just the S-class heroes, it's the A-class heroes as well. And while we're having this conversation, Black S is listening. And Black S gives us an extremely important dialogue, and I'm just going to summarize this in paragraph. He says, this is a time where they should be working together, the Hero Association, but instead they're like sabotaging. And that the Hero Association has only been around for a few years, and it's already getting started by new power. And that reminds us that, yes, the Hero Association is relatively new. They're only like 3 years old. It's easy to forget that because it seems like they're just an institution that's been around for years and years and years. But they kind of started when Saitama himself started being killed, because he had saved a Goni prince from Crablanten. Like, that's what inspired a Goni to start the Hero Society. A Goni, just some random rich guy. We don't really get too much info on him, I guess. And then Black S wonders if, like, the Neo Heroes will become a threat to them. Monsters, but more so, I guess, to Black S and notable individuals. And he still kind of writes them off, because he just says humans in general are like fragile, and no matter how good their leadership is, a giant monster or a monster such as himself isn't going to lose like an army of men. Because as we saw, Black S, without like Garo, probably could have defeated the S-Class Heroes during the Monster Association. I mean, Tatsumaki was already talking about a condition, but Platinum S against Tatsumaki would have been a very interesting fight. And speaking of Tatsumaki, he also brings up the point that he is wary of heroes on her level as well as Saitama. And he also finds that the Hero Association giving monsters like them licenses to just go on a rampage is like detrimental. Which also brings up an interesting point, because it's like, yes, these heroes are incredibly powerful. They're so powerful that they can easily destroy cities, if not even the world, if they really wanted. And the only thing that's really keeping them in check is just the fact that the Hero Association assumes that they're going to stay normal. So other heroes, especially tame ones, in comparison to them, doesn't really bother Black S. And he says that the Neo Heroes, like weakening the Hero Association, will ultimately be detrimental to humanity, because of course it will. But that ultimately will be beneficial to Black S and Rover. And all he has to do is just keep eating dog food and bide his time, and the opportunity will come. And this is very foreboding, because Black S has kind of been lulling the audience into a false sense of security since the Monster Association has ended. He's become the role of like being a pet to Saitama along with Rover, but he still is really evil. He's one of the most evil monsters there is. One of the most powerful, for sure. It's just that at the end of the Monster Association arc, he was reduced to just one single cell, as we see here. And as we saw, he was just buying his time, laying low, and just recovering his cell stock by eating. So this means that Black S will once again become like a massive threat to the heroes and humanity in general. It's very possible that he may even surpass Platinum S and become something even greater. Now, when is he going to come back as being a threat? This isn't a spoiler when I say this. I would say don't expect it to happen anytime soon. I expect Black S to come back in full form and be like a threat in like the last saga of the series. Like right now we're in like the second saga. The first saga was like, you know, the beginning up until the end of the Monster Association. And then this saga is going to be like the Neo Heroes versus the Hero Association, and then whatever transpires with that. And then the third saga will be all about humanity versus God. And I think once God comes more into the spotlight, Black S will be as well, and he'll probably become one of God's, like Akatsuki or Espada, one of like his main disciple monsters. You know what I mean? Like the final villains always have like a team with them in this type of series, and I think Black S will be. Then we come into the end of the chapter, and Saitama is coming back to the group here with some dog food for Rover. And Butterfly DX is like berating Saitama, saying that you can't just get him any kind of dog food. Like this is adult dog food, and Rover's just like 4 months old or something. Now, I don't know if that means that Rover has regressed to being 4 months old after getting punched by Saitama and from the destruction of the Monster Association or whatever, or Psychos found Rover when he was just a pup or something, because Overgrown Rover is apparently like a result of experimentation from Psychos. So I don't know if we're gonna get more into like his backstory, or maybe this is one just giving us little bits of it. Then in a surprise ending sequence here, we see that there's individuals here that are asking Saitama to be recruited into their organization. Now you're just led to believe that this is the Neo Heroes, because you know the group here was talking about Neo Heroes asking them to be recruited. But since it's Saitama, it makes you wonder, like, is this really the Neo Heroes? Because Saitama isn't always like a big deal to everyone else, especially most of the world, when they just kind of see him as like a joke. There's only like a handful of characters that are aware that Saitama is strong, and then there's even less than that who realize that he is the one above all. So it makes you wonder, like, who is this group trying to recruit Saitama here? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait to see the next chapter. Let me know what you thought about this one in the comments, guys. If you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Welcome to r/Am I the Butthole, where OP's girlfriend literally steals his leg. Am I the butthole for asking my girlfriend to pay for a new prosthesis? I am a 24-year-old guy, and I had an auto accident over 2 years ago that resulted in a left leg knee amputation. I thought that would have been the end of my active lifestyle. I loved all kinds of sports as a kid, and I still do. I had a very hard time adjusting to my new normal. My parents were able to get me a prosthetic leg that allowed me to get back to running and going on trips with my friends like we always do every summer. The guys were planning an RV trip on the weekend. We'd already chosen a destination, which was spending some time out in nature to get away from stress. My girlfriend asked if she could come along. I told her, no, this is a guy's trip. I told her that all my buddies' girlfriends wanted to go too, but they were firm and put their foot down. She laughed at me for this. Then she tried to convince me to let her come because she was feeling stressed out from being at home 24 hours a day. I already made up my mind. I wasn't going to ruin the trip just because she wants to be on a guy's trip. I promised her a trip when I got back, and she got upset and didn't like that idea. Later on, before I went to sleep, I took my prosthesis off as I do every night. This is my second prosthesis. I've already completed a wearing schedule during first year and had to get another prosthesis to accommodate any physical changes I had. I woke up in the morning and I couldn't find my prosthesis. I looked where I put it, but it was gone. I asked my girlfriend,
Bring up
who
my
was doing
stream
heavy
chat.
cleaning around the place, and she said she didn't see it. I was confused because it was near my bed. I asked her to stop being childish and playing games and give back my prosthesis because I knew she took it. She's a bad liar. She couldn't even deny it. She said that she wanted to hide it so that I won't go on that trip and leave her alone. I got mad at her for this. I was stunned to find my prosthesis hidden under an auto part in the garage. It had been damaged. It had been placed in a position that caused it to crack, and it was obvious that it no longer functioned properly. I mean, I could still wear it, but I couldn't put my whole weight on it because it would break. I yelled at her and showed her what she did. She said she didn't mean it. I told her she did mean it because she was being childish and jealous over a trip. And now she caused me $7,000 worth of damage. I told her she ruined everything, that she owed me a new one and that she needed to pay for a new one. She got mad and left. I basically had to use my old crutches. It felt absolutely horrible. I called the guys and told them I wasn't coming. It's been a few days. She's mad that I'm still asking her to pay for a new prosthesis and called me a butthole for not apologizing and preferring a plastic leg over her. I had to call my parents today to tell them, and they told me that she should at least pay for half of the expense of a new prosthesis since she damaged it, and then I should reconsider my relationship with her. Have I been a butthole here? And if it's relevant, OP points out that they're from the Philippines. So your girlfriend is jealous, controlling, a liar, cheap, unapologetic, and she stole your fucking leg! I would run as fast as you're able to, OP, to the nearest exit and then sue her for a new prosthesis. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving her 4 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for ignoring my wife for throwing away my late wife's videotapes? I have a daughter with my late wife, and her name is Eleanor. Eleanor's birthday is coming up in 2 weeks, and she's turning 18. Background: me and my late wife, Chloe, have been dating since college. We got older and ended up getting married, and after our wedding, she shared news to me that she was pregnant, and I was excited that we were expecting our first child. Since it was our first child, we bought a video camera and made little tapes and snippets of her whole pregnancy. Wholesome things, such as just joking around or having lunch, or talking to our unborn child through the camera. We made a promise to only show Eleanor the tapes on her 18th birthday. Fast forward 2 years after her birth. Chloe passed away due to a drunk driver crashing into her car as she was coming home from her mother's house. I was devastated from her passing and went into a deep depression and having to raise our 2-year-old daughter by myself. My friends tried to get me to go out again and start back dating, but every time I did, I felt like I was betraying Chloe. Years later, when Eleanor was 13, I met Wendy. We met at a gathering for my sister's birthday, and we instantly hit it off. She didn't mind that I had a daughter because she had 2 kids herself and just went through a divorce. 2 years after, we got married. Now we're back to the present. Eleanor's 18th birthday is coming up, and I kept all the tapes for me to show her. Mind you, her mother died when she was just 2, so Eleanor doesn't remember her touch or her voice. I was excited to show her the tapes, And a week ago, I was talking to Wendy about it, and I noticed her expression going from happy to looking a bit uncomfortable. Wendy would always get uncomfortable when I talk about my late wife. I don't say things like, "Why can't you be like Chloe?" or "Chloe was only supposed to be my first love." But I talk about Chloe in a way to give my daughter a mental picture of what her mother was like. Wendy has always talked to me about Chloe and how it made her sad that she can never be like her. Chloe was a model who then started working on her fashion career. And don't get me wrong, she was a really beautiful woman. While Wendy had 2 kids in college and isn't in the best shape, her words. I love both women how they are, and I've never had a preference. But I feel like Wendy is gaining some jealousy towards Chloe. I told Wendy that I love her just the way she was, and she broke down crying. The next day after the incident, she came up to me and apologized for the way that she acted last night. I told her it was okay, and it's good that she felt comfortable to share her feelings. And I gave her a tight hug and a kiss on her forehead. She asked to see where the tapes were, and I showed her the box of videotapes of my late wife in my closet. Things were going fine until yesterday morning. I was looking for the tapes because I wanted to put them in a prettier box for my daughter.
They're
and
gone.
when I went to go find them, the box wasn't in my closet. I looked everywhere to the point that I walked downstairs to see my wife laying on the couch watching TV. I asked her about the box, and she told me she threw it away with a neutral expression. My heart dropped, and I asked her what did she mean, and she told me that I talk about her too much and that I need to move on with my life, so she threw them away as a head start. I was fuming with anger because not only did she throw away what I had left of her, she threw away my daughter's big surprise. We quickly got into an argument, and she noticed how angry I
that's
was,
horrible.
so she started apologizing. It got to the point that I started crying and locked myself in our bedroom. It's the morning, and I'm writing this in my office, going through my computer, finding old files or any type of video of my late wife to give to my daughter, because sometimes my daughter still cries that she never got to meet her mother, and I really
That's
thought that it
fun.
would bring her closer to her. I've been ignoring my wife for the past day, and she's been texting me non-stop about how sorry she is, but I really just can't look at her right now. It's getting to the point that our mutual friends are texting me to accept her apology and get over it since Chloe died over 10 years ago. But I'm trying to ignore them all because they never had someone so close to them die. I'm working on finding these files, and I'm starting to think that I was overreacting. I don't know what to do, and I really need help. This is a level of betrayal that not only would I
OP
not be
was
able to
not
consider being back
overreacting.
together with them, I would never be able to be in the same room with
Those
this person
pictures
ever.
are not just
Your
important
wife
to
struck
OP.
a grievous blow to both you and your daughter. I
Exactly.
could see maybe forgiving throwing away the wife's tapes, but not the mother of my daughter's tapes. That's a whole other level of betrayal. I would dump her and not even feel the least bit bad about it. I'd kick her out of the house the same day. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your wife 4 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for refusing to get rid of my coffee table because my friend says it's cursed after what happened at a party? A few weeks ago, I hosted a little get-together at my apartment. Nothing wild, just some drinks, music, and a few friends hanging out. The night was going great until my friend, Kayla, who's 23, had a very unfortunate accident. She had a little too much to drink, and at one point, she tripped over absolutely nothing and went face first into my glass coffee table. It didn't shatter, but she smacked her forehead so hard that she ended up with a huge bruise and a mild concussion. We took care of her, got her some ice, and she laughed it off when she sobered up. But ever since then, she's been obsessed with the idea that my coffee table is cursed. She swears she didn't just trip. She says she felt something push her, like a force yanked her forward, guiding her straight into the glass. At first I thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. She keeps saying the table has bad energy and that it's trying to hurt people. She even went as far as to test
Evil
it
table.
by making our friend Ryan stand near it while she tried to feel if there was a weird vibe coming off it. Ryan said that it just felt like a normal table. But now, Kayla refuses
a
to come
normal
over
table.
unless I get rid of it. She says I'm inviting bad luck into my home by keeping it, and that my apartment will never have peace as long as it's here. The thing is, I love this coffee table. It was expensive, it matches my decor perfectly, and aside from Kayla's self-inflicted head injury, it has never done anything remotely dangerous. I told her I am not throwing away my furniture over one drunken accident, and
It
she
won't
got
open.
really offended. She said that I was invalidating her experience and that I was choosing a table over a friend. I told her she was being ridiculous, and now she's barely even speaking to me. A few mutual friends think that I should just sell it to keep the peace, but I feel like this is a stupid hill to die on. It's a piece of furniture, not a demon. Am I the butthole for refusing to get rid of my cursed coffee table? You know, it sounds like Kayla is the one who's cursed here, not the coffee table. The coffee table actually seems blessed because it didn't shatter and cut her face into a million pieces like it would have if this were a horror movie. Also, it could have potentially saved her from even worse harm, because if the table weren't there, then she would have fallen even farther and hit her head on the floor.
There we go.
You know, theoretically would have caused more damage because it's a longer fall. So this is a blessed coffee table, if anything. So OP, I say keep the blessed coffee table, get rid of the cursed friend. I mean, how much do you really want to be friends with someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, trips, and then is like, it must have been ghosts? Am I the butthole for not giving my coworker a ride after he didn't spot me $1 at the vending machine? I usually give my coworker a ride on the way back from work, usually driving 5 miles out of my way per day to drop him off at his place because he doesn't have a car. I've been doing that for about 2 years now and haven't asked for anything, and he's never offered. Yesterday, I was at the vending machine and wanted a soda. I was short $1 and I left my wallet in the car. I would usually go get my wallet, but it takes forever to wait for the elevators at my workplace. So I asked this guy if he could spot me $1 for the soda. He straight up refused and said, "Just use your own money, man. I don't really give money to friends or coworkers. Sorry."
That was
I
a really
taken
good
aback by
stretch.
that comment because I probably spent well over $1,500 in gas over the past 2 years for this guy. And he can't even spot me $1 just this once? I got pretty upset by that. And once it hit 5 o'clock, I told him I'm not giving him free rides anymore. He seemed upset and said that I was petty. Am I the butthole? Nah, I think he can use all that money he saved from not loaning out dollar bills at vending machines to buy himself a brand new car. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your entitled coworker 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for refusing to give my pregnant ex-fiance money after she left me for another man? 3 years ago, my ex-fiance, who's 31, left me for another man just a few months before our wedding. Ouch! We'd been together for 5 years, and I was completely blindsided. She moved in with him almost immediately, and they cut contact with me unless it was about splitting up our shared finances and apartment. I was devastated, but I feel like I finally moved on. Now, out of nowhere, she reached out. Turns out the guy she left me for dumped her after finding out she got pregnant. She's struggling financially and has asked if I could help her out. Specifically, she wants money to cover rent. She says she has nowhere else to turn and that she wouldn't ask if she wasn't desperate. I have the money. I'm in a much better place financially and emotionally than I was back then. I put all my energy into improving myself after what happened. But I don't see why I should give her anything. Some friends are saying that I'm being selfish, but I don't see why her choices should be my problem now. Still, part of me does feel guilty. 5 years is a long time, and I did love her. OP, based on the title, I assume this was your baby in this woman's belly. But she left you 2 years ago and she's pregnant by some other dude? Nah, she's lucky you even picked up the phone when you called. Let alone give her thousands of dollars for free. Are you crazy, OP? She shafted you once. You're gonna let her shaft you a second time? OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your cheating, well, technically I don't know if she's cheating, but come on guys, come on. Isn't it obvious? Either way, I'm giving your ex 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for telling my boyfriend that he isn't entitled to my inheritance? My grandpa passed away a few months ago, and I inherited a little over $4 million from his estate. I had no idea he had that much money, and I was honestly not expecting to receive anything, as I assumed that it would all go to my mom. After I got over the initial shock, I took the opportunity to finally quit my job, which I really hated. as I don't have any outstanding debts and I can easily live off of $40,000 a year. I'm pretty introverted, and I'm more than happy to stay at home working on art, music, other interests, and gaming. Ever since I inherited the money, my boyfriend has been pressuring me to cover all the rent and utilities, about $1,200 a month for our apartment, and start putting money away into a joint savings fund. I would be happy to do this if we were married, but we're not. We've only been dating for a year and a half, and I would prefer to keep our finances separate. Despite not working anymore, I still pay my half of the rent every month, and have started paying for a housekeeper to come in and clean a few times a week, so our apartment is nearly always spotless and looks great. I told my boyfriend he isn't entitled to my money, and he said I was being selfish for expecting him to still contribute to the rent when I can easily afford to pay for the whole thing. Am I the butthole? Nope. Your boyfriend isn't looking for a life partner. He's looking for a free ride. In both senses of the phrase. Opie, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your boyfriend 3 out of 5 buttholes. Also, if you're worth $4 million, why are you renting? Why not just buy a house? That was r/am I the butthole. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day. Welcome to r/Today I F'd Up, where OP attempts to get a big titty goth girlfriend. Today I effed up by trying to bang a goth baddie, and my wife found out. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and my wife is 32, and we're in a healthy and happy relationship. That said, we've been together since high school, so we both feel that we missed out a little by being each other's only sexual experiences. We talked about this at length, and decided a few years ago that we're okay having a few hall passes in our relationship, since we very much intend to stay together the rest of our lives and don't want any resentment over missed possibilities. Plus, it's pretty rare that we could even find such an opportunity, as it's a little hard to find hookups when you're in a committed marriage and don't go out much. We've even given each other advance approval in case a situation arises, as long as we're safe about it and tell each other immediately afterwards. We both used one hall pass, each with someone that we knew well enough but would never see again, and no issue came of it. In fact, it's only made us more secure in our relationship and how much we genuinely appreciate being with each other. Recently, I had to travel to London for work. I don't normally get to travel for work, so I decided to make a trip out of it and spend a few extra days of my own time in the city after the project was done. My wife couldn't join because she didn't have any vacation time left, but was very supportive of me taking some time to explore since I've never been to London and she has. Being cheap and being a pretty outgoing guy when I'm so inclined, I decided to stay in a hostel. I was interested in meeting other travelers since I didn't know anyone in the city and loved being sociable with new people. I chatted with several of the people staying there, and in particular, a very attractive French girl, mid-20s, who dressed super goth. For context, I love the goth girl look. I've been sucked into the goth girlfriend propaganda online, much to the annoyance of my wife. It isn't her style. But she's been nice enough to cater to me by putting on a sexy goth outfit on occasion, since she knows it's a huge fantasy of mine. Still, I pester her constantly to be more goth, because I enjoy it so much. Anyways, I ended up spending a little bit of time with goth French baddie. We both went to the hostel's happy hour event and hit it off there. I found out that she was recently single and was in London for an art show. It turns out that we're both into emo music, and we talked about our favorite bands. I had the thought that she was acting a bit flirty towards me, but didn't think too much of it, until later I found myself sharing a sink with her in the hostel bathroom. The hostel was co-ed, so each floor had a small shared bathroom with a communal sink, and a door that was meant to be kept open, but which people frequently closed for the sake of having more privacy than just a stall to shower in. So I'm brushing my teeth while chatting up the real-life version of Shadowheart, who, mind you, is wearing an extremely low-cut top, when she suddenly closes the bathroom door behind us. In my mind, my wildest fantasy is about to come true. It's even more exciting because of the adrenaline rush of being in a semi-public setting, and a girl being so into me that she would make such a bold move. I can't believe this is actually happening to me. I instantly get hard. Then she turns around and asks, "Are you interested in learning about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?" She had me cornered for 10 minutes, trying to talk me into salvation, while I grew increasingly despondent and immensely disappointed, with the whiplash of going from what would have been one of the crowning moments of my life to pure and utter dejection. When I told my wife this story, she laughed for a solid hour. She said it's karma for annoying her about wanting a goth girlfriend. This comment from Dr. Cortex, not the kind of missionary you had in mind, eh? Also, what makes this so fitting is, if you don't know, Shadowheart is a character from Baldur's Gate 3, and she is literally a cleric of her chosen deity. So this Shadowheart girl is fittingly very religious. Today I effed up by misunderstanding my gynecologist. I visited the gynecologist on Thursday for my yearly exam. I see a male gynecologist, and while he's a little awkward, he's a very nice guy, good doctor, and hasn't given me creep vibes. Before he came in, I took off everything except my socks and put on a little gown they gave me. I settled on the bed and then he entered. We made a little bit of small talk just so that we weren't in silence. I go through the any concerns, anything you need to bring up since the last visit, etc. And then it's time for the old peek. I put my legs in the stirrups and he begins his exam. He must be feeling awkward from the silence because after a minute he says, "Oh, you must have a cat, huh?" I do have a couple of cats, but I hadn't mentioned that to him. My brain short circuits. How can he tell that I have cats just by looking at my lady parts? Does it smell like cats down there? So I say, "Why? Does my vagina smell?" He must have interpreted my question as, "Why does my vagina smell?" And he said, "I'm not smelling anything right now. Can you describe the smell?" My brain goes into overdrive. What the hell does he mean, can I describe it? He's the one down there. So I clarify, can I describe the cat vagina smell? He pauses and sits up straight and just says, "What?" So I say, "Do I smell like cats down there? How could you tell that I have cats?" His face turns bright red, and he points to my foot in the stirrup, or more specifically, the cat socks that I'm wearing, which also happens to have a single white cat hair clinging to the sock. I said, "Oh, I thought my lady parts smelled like cats or something." He shook his head and he very quickly finished up. "So I don't smell like a cat, but I don't think I can go back to him." The top comment from Sailor Chibi. Rest assured, he's told literally everyone in the office about this. "Yeah, OP, you're not the crazy cat lady, you're the smelly cat lady." The doctor's like, "You must have cats." Today I effed up by putting BJ's for 2 hours on my calendar at work. So I recently got a promotion at work, and with it comes a shared administrative assistant. The admin, among other things, can help schedule, move, and cancel meetings for me. To do this, she has access to my calendar and can see all my meetings. My wife and I have a membership to a few wholesale clubs, including BJ's and Costco's. On Friday, my wife wants me to go with her to both so that we can get stuff for a party we're having this weekend. Well, me, being stupid, went into my calendar last night and blocked off 2 hours on my own calendar for Friday with a simple title of BJ's. Obviously, you can see where this is going. But my new admin pinged me today and we had the following conversation. "Reminder, I can see your calendar now." Yep, I remember, but thanks for the reminder anyways. "And that means I can also see all the meetings you add yourself." Yep, got it. "So I can see the meeting you put on your calendar for Friday at lunch." Oh God. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My wife and I are going to Costco and BJ's, and I blocked off 2 hours to run some errands. I promise. Lol, you can do whatever you want on your free time. Just thought I'd remind you. I don't think she believes me, and now will be super embarrassed every time I talk to her or see her. Yikes. Down in the comments, we have this story from Blazenar. For my older brother's 40th birthday, his now mother-in-law made him a card that said, "I heart BJ's," in reference to the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team. The group of us effing died laughing at us, and she had no clue why. Her husband, who had apparently not seen the card prior to this, had to very politely explain why we were laughing, as the rest of us couldn't keep our cool together long enough to do so. This reminds me of an event from my childhood, which is one of those embarrassing memories that pop into your mind as you're trying to fall asleep. I was walking across a soccer field in high school with two upperclassmen. So I guess I probably would have been in maybe 9th or 10th grade, and they were probably 11th or 12th. And I thought they were cool. They were definitely cooler than me, more confident, more popular. But I was cool enough, I guess, to hang out with them. And the two guys were talking about their sexual conquests. And I was thinking, oh, I better not seem like a naive virgin, even though I definitely was. And one of the guys said something, she gave me a BJ. And I said, BJ? What's a BJ? And he says, blowjob. And I'm like, aha, I see. They now know you're a stupid loser. Good job, Dabney! Today I effed up by sleeping with my former boss in front of her husband. My former boss contacted me a few days ago with an unusual request. She wanted to know if I was interested in sleeping with her while her husband watched us. I said that I was the wrong guy for the job, but she disagreed and said that I was the perfect guy based on a random...
No, not the persuasion.
...we had years ago.
Oh God, no.
She said her new husband wanted to watch her bang another guy, and she was into it.
Oh no.
The possibility in person.
That's horrible.
When she offered to pay for dinner. I forgot how attractive she was until I saw her face to face. She introduced me to her new husband, who wanted me to understand that all he wanted was to be an observer in the bedroom. He made it sound like the worst case scenario was that I would get laid, which I believe.
It's worse than that one Rick and Morty episode.
Fast forward to the action. A couple of days had passed since I said yes. I was in missionary when I heard snoring and farting coming from the so-called observer. The husband passed out at some point, but obviously not quietly, which affected my concentration on the action because the snoring was distracting and the farting was disgusting. My ex-boss apologized on her husband's behalf before grabbing the box of tissues next to the bed and aggressively hurling it at her unconscious husband. Her aim was off. The tissue box missed the target, prompting my ex-boss to hysterically scream her husband's name over and over into my ears, while I was still laying pipe and trying to pretend that absolutely nothing weird was happening. The husband eventually woke up after my ex-boss managed to scream his name at the top of her lungs. Cue all-out war. My ex-boss called her husband rude for falling asleep. The husband said that he had a long day at work. My ex-boss scoffed and said that her husband had no clue what a long day at work looked like because what he did in one day was nothing compared to what she had to do every day as an independent businesswoman. The husband said that he had zero energy for another boss B-word speech. My ex-boss looked at me and said that her husband has zero energy on a permanent basis. I asked both of them if they wanted me to stop and give them privacy because I was awkwardly still going at it in silence while listening to them. My ex-boss said that I should ask her husband since the whole thing was his idea. The husband unexpectedly slapped my butt on his way towards the bedroom door.
What?
And said that I should finish up and call it a night. I did not finish up. But
is bro a coach?
Night when I realized that my desire to get away from my ex-boss and her husband outweighed my desire to finish. One night stand should have been enough, but I just had to come back before, which I now regret. Something tells me this marriage isn't going to last. What do you guys think? Today I effed up by asking a MILF for her number. So I was at the mall with my son.
What are these stories?
Anyway, my son was playing really well with this little girl. Like, they were two peas in a pod playing together, just having a blast. I'm a big dude. A lot of people say that I look scary. Anyways, my son is playing. I'm eating my lunch, and I decide I need to figure out who this girl's parents are. I figure it out, and she's apparently a hot mom. So I walk up to her and go, "Hey, our kids are playing together. Maybe I can get your number and we can set up a play date." She looks at me and goes, married. I was thinking, that's nice. My son wants to play with your daughter, so I said, me too. My wife would love to meet you. Our kids are playing well together. Do you want to set up a play date? At this point, her husband walks up and she goes, "This guy is asking for my number after I told him I'm married." At this point, I'm thinking, screw it, not worth it. I apologize and sit down and wait for my son to finish playing. Today I effed up by showing my wife to swipe right to see the popular feed. My wife is new to Reddit. Her profile is maybe 2 years old. I told her how it works, and she's enjoyed it so far. My wife is very wholesome and has been filling her feed with things she likes, like I told her to. She searched for subreddits she's interested in and joins them and enjoys her feed. Simple enough. I've been keeping her up to tabs on current events and everyday conversations. This happened in the world, so-and-so is in the news, that happened at that place, sort of thing. She's always just asked me where I'm getting my information from, and I just tell her Reddit. She always just sort of responded back with, "Huh, I must have missed that," or "I didn't see that at all in my feed." My first really big clue was the Musk hand gesture, and I was honestly quite surprised when she said her usual default response. The second flag was when she said she never noticed the massive influx of subreddits requesting to ban all X/Twitter posts. Last night, I decided to forego our usual evening winding down and cuddling while watching unimportant YouTube videos in the background. I decided to put on music and talk about our day and just enjoy each other's company. I showed her something on Reddit that I thought was funny, and she laughed and said, "OMG, where'd you see that? Send it to me." And I told her it should be in her feed, just scroll down from the top posts. She said she did, and she couldn't find it. I then asked her to show me her feed, and it was all r/cats, r/dogs with jobs, r/corgis, r/sewing, r/baking, etc. I said, "Oh, you're in your custom feed. Just scroll right." The look on her face went blank, and she asked, "What do you mean, scroll right?" I said, "Swipe right and you'll get to the popular feed. Swipe right again and you'll get to the watch section where it's all videos." She just dropped her jaw and told me she never knew about that. I said, "Oh, that finally makes sense," and I showed her how to mute certain subreddits if she didn't want to see them. I went about our evening and thought nothing of it, except I totally messed up. She came home from work tonight just totally numb. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that she's just been in an unfiltered, popular doom scroll all day. She's only known like highlights of what's going on in the world from what I've told her. Now she knows everything, and I'm afraid I broke her. I feel bad. Well, it's true. Reddit is awful, and everyone should get off it, including me, right now.
That was r/today I effed up, and if you like this content, check out my Patreon where I publish extra episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
Welcome to r/Best of Redditor updates, where OP's wife comes home with a mystery hickey that she claims is a bug bite.
Our next Reddit post is from r/marriage.
I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I'm in a fight with my 28-year-old wife. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule to tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stayed behind and held down the fort at home. This change of plans was a bummer because that trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I would even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. There were all these times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that, nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair and this was a networking opportunity. They were business oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised that she would rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. The whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, a 23-year-old guy, was in almost every picture or video attached to her hip. In one picture, he had his arm too comfortably around her, in my opinion. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I do not like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say that she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed that it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought that it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said that I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe that she was being honest with me.
Okay.
We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that, and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Have you guys ever gotten a bug bite that looks like a hickey? Because I know I haven't. Then, about 1 week later, OP posted an update. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up, but I did notice the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear that she was done talking about it, and she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved to the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell that she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt like she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed that she hooked up with that coworker on, oh my God, on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. Yo, that's actually crazy. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some over-the-clothes stuff, and then he gave her oral. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about this guy that she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad. A cycle of being consumed with work, becoming distant from her child, and the infidelity that he put her mom through. She said her family never talked about anything openly, and how when she was growing up, my mother-in-law never addressed anything with her. I said that her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. Those were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents, but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said that she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like, or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything that we couldn't talk out. She insisted we could still talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows, but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she's failed as a wife and a mom. But she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt that we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter too much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife is staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom's just busy with her work per usual. She hadn't questioned
That
it
was
too
close.
much. My mother-in-law called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mother-in-law was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb, yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh.
Man, what a
I think
crazy
this period of
story.
Separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. What's so bad about this is we know this woman is a liar. She came in and tried to fight with OP over, no, it's just a bug bite. How dare you accuse me of cheating on you? So she lied to his face viciously. And we're supposed to believe that they just did some over-the-clothes light groping, no big deal, just a little peck on the neck. I mean, you could hardly even notice it. And just a little bit of oral, just a tiny bit, and it ended immediately. Nah, man, they went to Pound Town all night. Then she tries to blame OP for the accusations, and then blame her parents for this culture of cheating that I grew up in. Yeah, right. Like, any of these things are individually enough to break up a marriage, but to me, sleeping with another dude on your daughter's birthday while she's crying? Why won't mommy be with me on my birthday? Yo, that's unforgivable. You know, I guess ultimately it doesn't really matter what happened in that hotel room because she's already just fundamentally betrayed her family in the worst way possible. So whether they just did oral or went at it 1,000 times that one day, you know, I guess it's all the same thing at the end. You know what? Actually, I just realized something. When I was reading the first part of the story, I thought it was odd that the wife called OP on the daughter's birthday and didn't do FaceTime to have their mini celebration. I was thinking to myself, why call and turn down the FaceTime? Why not just do the FaceTime because it'll take up the same amount of time? And now I realize the reason why she didn't want to do FaceTime is because she knew that if she saw her daughter's face, she would no longer have the willpower to, do the nasty with this coworker. So she protected herself. She protected her infidelity. She guarded her cheating heart against the one thing that could kill it, which was, her daughter, so that she could preserve that flame of lust and screw the dude. Oh my God, that makes it so much worse. Our next Reddit post comes from r/legal advice. I moved this month to Washington State, and my yard borders windows of the neighboring property. The neighbor's yard is on the other side of their house, so their kitchen and living room, plus one of their upstairs bathrooms. And from what I can best ascertain, the window to a study are pressed right against the dividing line property between the two yards, a small stone path. Along the edge of my property, we have 3 black walnut trees and 4 bushes. About a week after we moved in, the new neighbors approached us and said the previous tenants had promised to trim the trees because they blocked the view out of their windows. I called the previous owner, and he said he promised nothing of the sort, and half the reason he planted the bushes along the existing tree line was because the neighbors complained about his cookouts in the yard, making them feel as though they had to draw their curtains for privacy, which they didn't like. So the bushes were essentially a privacy hedge. The previous owner did just move into an assisted living for dementia patients though, so I'm waiting to get double confirmation from his daughter. We told the neighbor, a woman, sorry but no. Both because the trees provide nice shade, and without the bushes on the lower level, they'd be able to see directly into our house and vice versa. We went away for the weekend and found 5 large branches and a dozen smaller branches missing from our trees, exactly where their windows were blocked. The trees look hideous and diseased now because of these giant bald patches, and no longer provide privacy or adequate shade. One of our bushes was completely gone. 2 others crudely uprooted from the ground and unsalvageable. The neighbor said the black walnut trees had been there since he moved in 60 years ago, and the bushes have been there for 15 years. I figured I was screwed because we don't have security cameras or anything to prove they did this. But as a last-ditch attempt, I sent them an email asking if they knew what had gone on. To which this neighbor had the audacity to reply as though they'd done us a favor. Their exact words were, "Yes, we decided it was unfair for you to shoulder the burden of the previous property owner's unfinished business. So we went ahead and had a crew take care of it out of our own pocket this weekend. No need to thank us. Merry early Christmas." I'm irate, especially because I had bought my girlfriend a bench swing for one of the trees for Christmas, something she's always talked about having. The trees were not crossing their property line, and the bushes were solidly within our property as well. As aforementioned, there's a small dividing stone pathway between the 2 properties, but I also have a recent official survey done just before we moved in. Do I have any recourse, even though they've contorted it to sound like it was a favor?
You don't fuck with tree law. You don't fuck with tree law.
Recourse. Let's see if this goes the way I
Oh
think it's
no.
Then, 19 days later, OP posted an update. I consulted 3 separate arborists officially, plus had an arborist friend check
buddy.
things over unofficially. The uprooted bushes were honey locusts, and the branches cut from my black walnut were valuable lumber. It was also determined that since the bushes and trees were acting as privacy barriers and no longer served that purpose, that I would require extra compensation to come up with the means of a new privacy barrier. It was initially going to be $2,300 for the missing honey locust, $1,600 for the first uprooted one, and $1,800 for the second. Then, sweet Jesus, we got to the issue of the black walnut trees. One was cut in such a way that it was permanently damaged and will likely have to be removed, thus costing my neighbors $17,000. The next tree was deemed to have lost enough lumber to be worth $4,000, and the final one $2,500. This was just the initial decision. There were just a few more steps before everything was finalized. But then, we had 2 arborists come by at this point. Then a third, who came highly rated but was unable to get to us anytime soon. Well, he had a cancellation and got in contact. We figured why not see him? Anything to fortify our case. He comes in and looks and observes that our trees have been afflicted by thousands of canker disease, and they'll all have to be removed. And our neighbors may have even exposed other old, valuable trees on our property that the neighbors didn't even touch to this disease. The first arborist had raised this concern, and a kind Redditor had even written about that condition after my first posting. But no one caught it until this arborist because it was still in its early stage. All told, the 3 other, less valuable trees on my property had to come down. All the black trees had to come down. And not only do my neighbors now owe me, $158,000, but they'll also be charged with criminal trespassing. Now, I didn't want to be a horrible, vindictive person and target an elderly couple over a dispute like this, so I asked around to other people in the neighborhood and asked what their experience had been with these neighbors. Resoundingly, everyone said, "Do it, press charges." Apparently, in the years they've lived here, they've called the cops on kids having a lemonade stand for lack of a permit to run a business. Called ICE twice on a Filipino family down the road.
Really?
And had similar weird disputes to this one they had with me over other plants and lawn adornments. It appears they'll have to sell their house to pay me. And they won't be missed.
Rough.
Thanks for all the advice. Oh my god, there's no story quite like a tree law story.
Indeed.
150 G's, man. 150K for trees. And if they had just kept their mouth shut and not sent that email gloating, then they probably would have gotten away with it.
That was r/best of Redditor updates. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish
You
the
don't
exact same episode.
fuck
Also, hit
with
that subscribe button
trees.
because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
Welcome to r/pro revenge, where abusive parents get sent to jail. Our next Reddit post is from Cynical Altruist. About 3 years ago, I was in a multi-school academic support network, which had a summer camp. At this camp, I met Kelly. Kelly was a closeted lesbian and was very scared of us telling her parents due to their extreme political and narcissistic views. I had dealt with this situation a few times, but not on this extreme of a level. Her parents were so far off the end of the scale, I dared not say anything about politics or religion in fear of starting an inquisition. These people made Westboro look like moderates. To give an example, they had complete control over her phone, emails, mail, and pretty much every other route of communication. So when they decided that one of her friends was too Jewish because the last name sounded Jewish to them, they deleted him from her life. They called the program and rearranged her schedule so she would never see him. Later, we found out they filed false, anonymous complaints against him so he wouldn't be invited back. Overnight, they removed this guy from her life. And this was not the last kid they did this with. Kelly was terrified of her parents, but they owned her. There was no way to escape short of suddenly becoming an adult. I was seriously worried about her, to the point where I bought her an emergency-only prepaid phone, which I told her to hide. This was, unequivocally, the best decision I've ever made. Fast forward to January. Kelly is struggling with the stress of everything, and says something innocuous in group chat along the lines of, "Good thing I don't have to worry about boys." We suddenly stop hearing responses from her. Her cell phone goes offline. The house phone kicks all of her numbers, but not payphones or other lines. The parents do pick up, but they say there's no one with that name at this address, then hang up. Her classmate says that she doesn't show up for class that day. Alarm bells are going off for everyone. Then I get the call from Kelly. "Please come pick me up. I was kicked out. It's cold." I'm the closest and I had a car, and I was driving in blowing heavy snow in far below freezing weather. I won't say that rage and panic fueled me, but I will say it got me there in one piece. I have never, ever driven a car as recklessly or as hard or as fast as I did that day. When I got there, she was huddled under a tarp, barefoot in pajamas, at the foot of her house's stairs. The parents saw my car and rush out to scream at me for taking their child from the path of God and corrupting her with devil-worshipping ideas, or something like that. I told them that if she listened to me, it was the first time she had ever done that. And then the critical sentence. "She is not our child anymore. You godless heathen ruined her mind." And then, "She's no daughter of ours." Kelly, freezing and scared, hides in my car. The parents start to get aggressive and hostile towards me, so I make two things very clear to them. One, I'm recording everything they say. I have a camera on my car and my phone. and I have a police officer waiting for me at the foot of the driveway. I called the cops before I arrived due to not feeling safe. 2. I'm leaving and never coming back. As per their request, Kelly will be coming with me since she's not their daughter, per their screaming rant. They start arguing, as in screaming over me about how she can be cured by methods that range from dubious to straight up illegal. By this point, I'm done. I get back in my car while they're screaming at me and head back down the driveway. The cop and I have a short chat, and he recommends that we be brought to the police station ASAP to prevent the parents saying that I kidnapped her. After a 6-hour emergency room visit for hypothermia and minor frostbite, escorted by police, we arrive. All of my video and audio recordings are entered into official records, and the officer's dashcam footage, and Kelly's ER report are filed away. I didn't know it at the time, but all that would prove to be essential in court later. I sign her into a hotel in my town and lawyer up. The lawyer I know specifically deals with cases like hers for free. He is very good at it. There was a lot of legalese and a long process and a lot of angry exchanges that I really didn't understand or participate in. But 2 years later, she was emancipated. I got to be a witness, and that recording and the ER report cinched the case, proving neglect. The parents didn't even try to argue against it, instead using some weird religious law argument. Kelly's older half-brother learned what was happening during the first year and supported her financially while she was in school. He hated the parents far more than either of us did. Kelly mostly feared them, and I was just disgusted by them. It really wasn't much of a fight. The parents represented themselves and tried to get the case dropped on religious grounds, which isn't a thing. After this, the revenge started, and Kelly did not hold back. During proceedings, it was discovered that the parents had been using their children's social security cards for loans, credit, bank account, and other sketchy stuff. They were already going to jail for that, but Kelly took it to the next level. One of the things that had been purchased in Kelly's name was the father's truck. Kelly reported it missing since she was technically the owner of the truck. They pulled the father over and confiscated the truck as stolen because his name was not on the title. The wife's was. When he tried to prove that it was his by filling out the bill of sale on the back, he found that the title for the vehicle had been invalidated when Kelly had ordered a new one and donated the vehicle to the fire department for Jaws of Life training that same day. The mother's credit cards were the same, but Kelly just canceled all of them and declared identity theft. This froze some of the mother's bank accounts, which were under Kelly's social security number. The family was already in chaos, but
That's
Kelly
insane.
cranked it to 11. Due to the social security number, Kelly was listed as the main contact for the family's cell phone and internet plans. She canceled both. She killed all the email accounts in her name that she could access and rerouted her mail to her new P.O. box. And she may have accidentally forgotten to say that they should only reroute her mail. She also called in repossession on everything that had been bought with her social security number on credits. The loans included renovations on the home, so the parents were forced to sell. By the time Kelly was done, the parents were happy to go to jail for fraud, identity theft, and their other numerous crimes rather than live on that street. All I know is that they became social pariahs in town before that. Stores banned them for their increasingly violent attempts at converting people. People they knew for years turned on them. The father was fired for failing a performance review, and the mother lost her job selling stuff due to her increased radicalization. In the end, Kelly's siblings went to live with her half-brother since he was the closest living relative. The parents lost all rights to visitation, as the state nullified their parental rights and gave guardianship to the half-brother, mostly due to the criminal charges. But the real revenge might just be that, as the sentencing was carried out, Kelly flipped the parents off in front of the judge, and the judge just laughed at the parents' attempts to claim that it was hate speech. Considering that Kelly was out in freezing weather as a child with no shoes suggests to me that the parents might have actually been trying to murder her. So OP might have saved this girl's life, both literally and metaphorically. Our next Reddit post is from Scaredy Cats. I'm a 46-year-old woman. My 17 and 15-year-old daughters have a strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents. My ex passed away in an accident last year, and we've had some major family drama since, due to his cheating and him leaving 2 boys born with his affair partner orphaned. She also died. Part of the drama has been my ex-in-laws trying to get custody of my daughters, and them also trying to live with us. The first one we're going to court over. The second one will never happen. Where we live, there's a weekend market with fresh produce, eggs, meat, and other products straight from farmers. This week was extra special since it was my youngest's birthday. Since her party is later in the month, I decided to give her a budget and set her loose on the market to get whatever she wanted. Mostly chocolate and sweets. After an hour, I did start getting worried, and just before I called her, she called me. She was crying, saying some weird people have cornered her. I ran to her with my oldest daughter to find 6 older women berating my daughter for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her paternal grandparents, or for wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers. My daughters are the ones that found out about my ex cheating and the baby, so they are not fond of the kids. It's trauma, and they're working with a therapist. I got between the group and my daughter.
So this is the bubble gum? Okay, I will. I prefer beating Geometry Dash levels. What? I jumped too early. That's stupid. I was actually cooking there for a minute. Stupid. Consistency, Oh my god, I hate that part so much. It's so bad. Michigan, what were you thinking, bro? Too early. This is taking way too many attempts for half free this level is. Fail. I do not feel good. fucking... Pooper. I hate also having astigmatism. Come on, I'm not that bad. The floor doesn't like me being in a certain spot. It'll just wheel me to wherever. Like it won't. That would have been so clean as a victory attempt. That gameplay was so clean. Ah, this fucking blue orb part. I hate it. That was close. I was gonna say that would have been an accidental swag route. That would have been too epic. I missed the green orb. No. I missed it completely. No, I hit too early. But I did get 59 not bad, but still not even close to yesterday. I got 72 3 times. I need to be warmer. And the heater will do that pretty quickly. Really? Right on the tippy top of the apex of the jump there? Really? Dude, I absolutely hate that fucking blue orb part. Dude, who decided, yes, let's do that? It's somehow worse than the almost identical part in Subterminal Point. That was lucky. That was not. I'm too inflamed. Like, my body has too much inflammation. I'm too sore from sitting. I can't play that great. I missed the green orb again. Man. Taking me way longer than it should. It's so unpredictable. Jump too early again. I was just barely not high enough to land on the block. I'm gonna bring back the good stories. If it'll go to my desktop, there we go.
Daughter telling my eldest to go pay the stuff her sister had and to go to the car. Then I turned to the women. Some I knew from when I went to my ex-in-law's church and ripped them a new one. They told me that I was the worst for refusing to obey my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. Barf. Eventually, the screaming turned too loud and we were all asked to leave the market. I met with my girls in the car, the women following me like a group of vultures. I managed to get in the car and drove away. After my girls went to bed, I got online to talk to another member of that church that I'm on good terms with. I told him about what happened, and after, he apologized. He told me what was going on. My ex-mother-in-law posted this massive story in the church's Facebook group about how horrible my daughters and I are. How we're leaving them homeless and penniless. They inherited my ex's personal bank account and his life insurance. And how my daughters don't even talk to them. She also accused us of being the reason she lost her grandsons. The boys are now living with distant relatives of my ex-husband. Basically, it was a sob story worthy of a Hallmark movie. And, of course, they were getting all love and support from the more extremist members of their church. This church and its members are a bit annoying, especially with LGBTQ+ topics. But they have a small saving grace. They are incredibly strict about cheating. It's a big no-no, be it from husband or a wife equally. Now, how did my ex-in-laws explain the affair, children? She claimed the other woman was our surrogate since I was unable to have more children. Then said that I didn't want the babies because they were boys, which is an absolutely disgusting thing to be accused of. Well, I decided it was time to clean up this mess, and since I was mid-divorce when my ex died, I had all the evidence I needed. And since the divorce wasn't completed, I don't have any legal ramifications for releasing all the evidence. I was off the next day and went to a print shop to get copies of all the delightful pictures of my ex cheating, his text conversations with his affair partner, the ones with his parents confessing to his cheating and getting support from them, my in-laws harassing me about the divorce, and my coup de grace. All the emails and text messages of them bullying my daughters about their baby brothers. In one of them, they called my daughters bastards and told them that it was their fault their father died since they told me about the affair and I began the divorce. That message was literally 2 days after my ex died. I paid extra for all of this to be printed out in beautiful, high-quality paper. Then, when I got home, I sat down for hours to make delightfully personalized binders. They looked like the little prayer song packets the church gave to everyone to sing hymns. The first picture when opening the binders is my ex and his side woman making out in our living room. Their faces are easy to discern, and the girl looks nothing like me. Different skin tones and hair color. Underneath, I wrote, ex-husband's name and affair girl's name, love story. I took the books to the church.
That was a good
before
shot.
service. There's a desk in the back with songbooks for people who need them or forget to bring their own, and they're never checked. The gossip mill was quick and harsh. The names that my ex and his affair partner got called in the Facebook were so bad that the pastor himself had to get involved just to keep things relatively PG-13. People were angry at my ex-in-laws for their abuse to my daughters. But what made me laugh is that they thought that I was still in the wrong for the divorce. But it is understandable that I failed on my duties after the shock, and I possibly will one day return to the light, unlike my cheating husband and his Jezebel. They used another word that I can't use here, I imagine. I got 2 apology letters in the mail for my girl and an invitation to join the church for supports. As for my ex-in-laws, they got shamed into leaving the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a post on her wall about how alienated she feels and how no one cares for the elderly anymore. How she wished her great son was still alive since he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money, I don't know, since I was the breadwinner. Down in the comments, this reply from Harry Horrocks feels very relevant. So, fun fact, Somebody did a study of estranged parent forums and estranged grown-up children forums to compare and contrast the attitudes therein. The adults always post vague stories and emphasize the emotions they're feeling. Like, my child won't talk to me and this makes me feel bad. The children, however, post evidence. As in, this is why I don't speak to my parents, including this screenshotted email chain.
That was r/pro revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.
Welcome to r/pro revenge, where someone gets a mouthful of piss. Our next Reddit post is from Lava Warrior. This happened about 8 years ago. I was part of a Christian organization that would travel to countries and do missionary work. At this time, we were in China, and our team was about 12 people, half male, half female. There were 2 apartments, one for the men and one for the women. We were each responsible for our own groceries and cooking, and each received weekly allowances for food, travel, etc. The first few weeks went fine, but we all began to notice some of our food would go missing. We had a team meeting about this and asked whoever it was to stop. We all had our suspicions to who it was, but I didn't want to point fingers. The person we suspected was Swiper. He was somewhat of an odd duck, but had a weird sense of humor that made most of us laugh. He was also somewhat of a germaphobe, always using hand sanitizer, cleaning, but would still shake people's hands. A week goes by and food still continues to go missing. Our team leader has a private meeting with Swiper to question him about the missing food and drinks. Swiper outright denies it, says it isn't him. Unfortunately, there really isn't much we can do at this point. No one's seen him steal. He would usually do it when everyone was out. This went on for some time, and despite questioning Swiper and doing everything possible to get him to stop, nothing changed. One of the other team members was a full-on stereotypical Texan, Peter. Peter was fed up with this and wasn't too fond of Swiper anyways. He decides he's going to piss in his own orange juice, and anyone who steals it will get what they deserve. Luckily, he told the rest of us, except Swiper, his plan, as we often would share juice and food if we asked. A few days pass, and Peter notices that his orange juice is slowly disappearing. That night, when everyone is in the apartment, Peter says, "Y'all do know I've been pissing in my orange juice, right?" As he takes a swig of his own orange juice piss cocktail. He honestly just didn't care if he drank his own piss. Swiper then jumps off the couch and starts having a full-blown screaming match and panic attack. Peter basically says, "Well, don't steal people's food." Swiper eventually ended up getting sent home for stealing from the market, jumping the transit turnstiles, and a few other things. I'll give this revenge story 8 out of 10 points. 6 for the just pure revenge, and 2 for the extra swagger of drinking his own piss just to prove a point. Our next Reddit post is from Assault Mouse. So I was driving my way home, and I see someone parked by the side of the road, waving me down. Enter entitled parent and her piece of garbage kid. "Can I help you?" I was confused since she waved me down. I thought maybe you needed some help? Is everything okay? No, we ran out of gas." "Oh, okay, that's a pretty easy fix. I can drive you into town to get gas and bring you back here." "Okay," she says simply, her son picking up some of the gravel by the roadside and throwing it into traffic. They were going 60 miles per hour, by the way. "Hey, don't do that, Chin. It's dangerous." The lady had gone to her car to grab her purse, but reeled out of it as I said that. "Don't you speak to my son like that," she snapped angrily. "Sorry." I get into my car, followed quickly by this obnoxious pair, highly regretting my life choices by this point. She sits down and immediately scoffs, looking at her feet. "Why is your car so dirty?" "Oh, sorry. I used to put my work boots down there, so it got kinda dirty over time. You should clean it up, you know?" I laugh nervously and just nod, pulling away and wanting this to be over with as fast as possible. I left my phone in the center console and she grabs it. "Can I call someone? My phone ran out of charge. That's why we were stuck out there." "Oh yeah, go ahead." Either she thinks the person on the other line can't hear her, or she's trying to contact them without the use of the phone because she is shouting. Meanwhile, her son suddenly leaps up between the two front seats, looking out the front window. I quickly slow down a bit in shock. Whoa, put your seatbelt on, dude. The mother just glances at him and pushes him into the back seat. And I have to tell him to put his seatbelt on again before he actually does. I'm effing seething by this point. But I could already see the town up ahead, and she'd thankfully only had a short conversation and put my phone back. We pull up to the pump without issue, and she sits there for like 10 seconds giving me this quick sideways glance with her arms folded. And I don't even have to ask if this B word wants me to get the gas for her. I know she does. And then I think, I didn't know if this was going to work, but I wanted to try it, and here I am. I get out of the car and grab a 5-liter jerry can that they had for sale, holding it up for her approval, and she nods. I fill it up and walk to the passenger side door and open it. What? Oh, I just wanted to know if your son wanted to pick out an ice cream. I know that it's a hot day today. She looked shocked for a moment, and for the first time, she smiled. The kid practically leapt out of the car, and much to my happiness, so did she, and followed him inside. I walk in and put the jerry can on the counter as the kid quickly comes up with his ice cream. I say, "Oh, 1 second. I left my phone in the car. It has my debit card in it." I smile as soon as my back is turned to them, getting into the car and casually driving off, relishing in the sight of her running out of the service station screaming who knows what profanities. All in all, it only ended up costing me about 20 minutes of my time. But the feeling that I got as I drove away was priceless. I wonder how long it took them to get back to their car. I got home fine, with a solid gold story in tow to tell my family. Best drive ever. I only hope the poor guy running the servo didn't cop it too bad from that awful human. Our next Reddit post is from Kelsier4. Back in the before times, when the internet was still a new thing with lots of potential, I was enrolled at my local junior college. A little into the semester, I moved in with my girlfriend, Lucy, so we could both save on rent. One night, Lucy said that she invited a friend from one of her classes for a game night. Sounded good to me. We invited a couple of other friends, and it was a really fun night. Surprisingly, it turned out that her friend, Sarah, was someone I knew from high school. We weren't close friends, but we knew each other and got along fine. After that night, Sarah was invited over pretty frequently for dinner, game nights, or to watch a movie. She even brought her boyfriend over a couple of times, Jay, but he never quite fit in. He would be quiet or standoffish, wouldn't engage much, and just seemed like he never wanted to be there. It was clear no one really felt comfortable having him there, but we invited him to be polite to Sarah. Fortunately, he only came over 2 or 3 times and found an excuse to refuse every other time. A month or 2 after all this started, Sarah called my girlfriend crying, asking if she could come over. Of course, we said yes. The story that was relayed was that Jay was getting very upset with Sarah for coming over to our place so frequently, and he accused her of cheating on him. She never clarified if he thought that she was cheating with me, Lucy, or both. But any option was ridiculous and never happened. But he confronted her and started verbally assaulting her, calling her all kinds of nasty names. At one point, she tried to walk past him to leave, and he shoved her back. This caused her to trip over a coffee table, fall, and get a huge bruise on her butt and lower back. Lucy told me about the bruise because Sarah had shown it to her. I didn't see it for myself. Sarah swore up and down that he had never physically assaulted her before, and she believed that it was just an accident. But I was pissed. I wanted revenge. You don't mess with my friends, and you don't assault women. I wanted to beat the stuffing out of him. But while I'm a very big guy, I've never been in a fight, and I'm not a violent person. But a revenge plan formed in my mind. At the time, I was working in the administration building of the school as a student employee. As part of my job, I could access anyone's student records, their fees, and their class schedule. The date was fast approaching that was the last possible day to drop or add classes without penalty or specific permission. So I looked up Jay in the system, got his student ID number and the other information that I needed, and put my plan into motion. On the last day to change schedules, I used the dedicated enrollment phones in the administration building and canceled all of his classes. Not only that, but I went through and added every class I could find that had a course fee. If you owed a debt at the school, you couldn't get copies of your transcripts or anything else. Something that I didn't mention was that Jay was a foreign student, and he couldn't stay in the country if he wasn't enrolled with a certain number of units. I wish I could give more info about the fallout, but as I didn't want to get this traced back to me, I didn't tell anyone, nor did I pull up his records again for a while. I did get a little payoff though. Sarah was really worried about seeing him again. She had broken up with him the night after he pushed her, as they had an English class together on Tuesdays. She said that on Tuesday he was there, but there was also someone new standing in the class. He was standing because there weren't enough seats. The teacher, seeing that there were more people than seats, did a roll call. And guess who wasn't on it? That's right, Jay. Apparently, after I dropped all of his classes, someone on the wait list got in. Jay tried to argue with the teacher, but since the teacher had the official class roster and Jay wasn't on it, there was nothing he could do. Sarah said that she never saw Jay in that class again. After a while, I did look up Jay's class schedule, and all of his classes with course fees were gone. But he didn't have any other classes on the books either. I wanted to assume that he was kicked out of school, but I didn't try to confirm it. Either way, Sarah didn't have to have a class with him. And while he probably deserved more, he was definitely inconvenienced and possibly kicked out of school. Sometimes I worry that I was too harsh, but then I remember that he deserved it. Mess with me, but not my friends. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. I used to work in a convenience store, and the store manager was a real prick. Misogynistic, offensive, cancer is hilarious, creepy, and a downright bully. Sometime after I left, he was fired after he decided to turn a professional interview with a young woman into a conversation about her favorite adult content. She reported him and he got the sack. Awesome. Anyway, this guy, Andy, fancied himself a real leader. I mean, he wasn't. He said impossible tasks and yelled instructions while doing absolutely nothing in the office in the meantime. I had a colleague, Gabby, who, to be honest, I didn't get on with. However, I knew that at the time, she was having a really tough time at home with her 3-year-old son. One day in the winter, it had snowed, fairly heavily. Gabby rang in that morning and told Andy she couldn't make it as she was snowed in. Everybody knew that wouldn't have been true and that it was likely she hadn't slept well due to the baby crying and whatnot. But you know what? Who cares? She always worked hard and she deserved a break. It was only a 4-hour shift and the store was dead anyways. No customers were gonna walk over snow and ice for the morning paper. Plus, we were actually overstaffed. However, Andy had a problem with women. He was always disrespectful and demeaning. Like the rest of us, he knew that she wouldn't be snowed in, but he didn't let it lie. He wanted to catch her out. Andy abandoned the store, which was serious gross misconduct, and got in his car. He made the 15-minute drive all the way to Gabby's house and took pictures of her car, her front driveway, and the rest of the street to prove that she wasn't snowed in. He then called her into the office at the end of the week for a disciplinary. When she came out, she was in tears. She was on a final warning. Andy wouldn't want a dismissal on his quarterly record, so he basically just threatened her instead. This didn't sit well with anybody. We hated him anyways, but he went too far making a single mom cry over something so ridiculous. Well, here's the good part. What Andy didn't realize was that on the last work night out, he had drunkenly revealed to the team that he was a serial cheat. He would regularly cheat on his wife of 18 years. He also has 2 teenage sons. He would justify it as having natural male hunger. If you've ever heard a more disturbing quote. Andy used to tell his wife that on evening shifts he finished at 11 p.m. This was a lie. He never worked later than 9 p.m. After an evening shift, he'd go and screw whichever side piece he had going at the time. Well, one evening, he finished up with his side chick at 11 p.m. and he got in his car and started driving. What he didn't realize was that Gabby, who wasn't on shift that day, had dropped her son at her mom's house and had waited outside the store in her car for Andy to leave. She tailed his car all the way to his hookup house and parked 3 houses down.
She then proceeded to take pictures of Andy hugging and kissing this random woman before he pulled her inside and slammed the door. You can see where this is going. Andy didn't come into work for a week. When we saw him next, he looked broken. His wife had been anonymously sent the pictures of him getting off with another woman. She'd kicked him out and contacted a solicitor to start a divorce process. His sons had blocked his number and wanted nothing to do with him. Of course he knew who sent the pictures, but he had no proof, no evidence. Gabby stayed at that store for another 3 months before moving into a recruitment position for a pharmaceutical company. As far as I know, she's still there today and doing well. As for Andy, I have no idea whether the divorce went through or not. I blocked him on all social media after I left the company, about a month after this whole thing. What I do know is that he's a disgusting, reprehensible human being who thought that he was invincible. He thought that he could walk all over people, bullying and belittling as he went. Well, he soon realized that nobody is invincible, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching his collapse. So, if guys have a natural male hunger for cheating, which is absurd, does that mean that women have a natural female hunger for following their bad boss in a car and then taking photos of him cheating so that she can ruin his life? That was r/pro revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day. Welcome to r/Am I the Butthole, where another man sleeps with OP's wife, so OP sleeps with that guy's wife. Our next Reddit post is from Top Mongoose. My wife cheated on me with her boss. I'm sleeping with his wife. Would I be a butthole if I pursued his wife for more than hookups? Divorce can take years, so I'm still legally married to my wife. Me and my wife are both 30. She cheated on me with her boss, who's 42. I found out when the boss's wife, who's 37, contacted me. She left him, and she thought that since I was the only one in the dark, I should be told. Obviously, I left my wife too. It was a very hard time on me because I've never experienced such betrayal. No one but the boss's wife really understood what I was going through because she was going through the same thing. We talked every day at first. Then we met up. Then we started sleeping together. She is so effing gorgeous, but that's not even the best thing about her. We've been meeting for intercourse a couple of times a month, but we text and call almost daily. I'm falling for her, and I think she is too. Would I be the butthole if I asked her out? She said that she didn't want to complicate things with her exes, but sometimes I feel like I want to take her out on a date and hold hands for everyone to see. OP, how kinky. My friends think that it's a bad idea that would create more drama for everyone involved, but I know that we have feelings for each other. Then OP posted an update. We've talked, and I've told her that I'm interested in her. As I suspected, she has feelings for me too, but was hesitant because of our exes and divorce and gossip and judgment. But whoever wants to judge us, are they even worth having around? We decided to go exclusive. Not that we were seeing other people during this time, but we've now spoken the words. I told her that I love her. It felt amazing saying those words. We decided not to make this public until we're legally divorced, which I don't mind at all because I don't care as long as we know that we're a couple. Wish us luck, because I don't think I've ever felt this way before, or loved anybody like this before. You guys ever hear the phrase, don't let your girlfriend stop you from finding your wife? Well, this story is, don't let your wife stop you from finding your girlfriend. This is bizarrely wholesome, and I sincerely wish the best for you, OP. I'm giving you a solid 0 out of 5 buttholes. Not only is this a very romantic and sweet story, it's also such great revenge and justice. Sleep with my wife, I'll show you. Am I the butthole for kicking my boyfriend and his daughter out because of how his daughter acts when she's on her period? My boyfriend of 2 years has an 11-year-old daughter that just started her first ever menstrual cycle 3 days ago. He has full custody of her, and they started making transitions to move in with me and my 8-year-old son about 2 weeks ago. Up until this point, everything was going well. The kids got along, and I thought that his daughter, Diane, was a nice enough kid. Anyways, she walks out of her bedroom 3 days ago and tells me that she thinks that she started her period and was asking me general questions about how to wear a pad, what she can and can't do, etc. All is well. I let her stay home from school after calling my boyfriend at work to confirm the plan and to give him the rundown. She was cramping. I work from home, so it was no issue. All day, she interrupted my business calls to talk about her period. It was annoying, but I just dealt with it because it's her first menstruation, so obviously there's going to be a lot of questions. That wasn't even the problem. What followed it was the problem. She was in a great mood all day, but as soon as my boyfriend and my son got home from work, my home turned into a war zone. My son asked if she wanted to play with him, and she screamed in his face, "I'm on my period!" and literally slammed him out of the doorway. He went flying and hit the wall. Yo, what? He bruised his shoulder and hit his head off the door frame. My boyfriend went to talk to her, and she starts crying. "I'm on my period. I don't want him near me." My boyfriend gave her a pass for her behavior, which already pissed me off. The next day, we had a planned beach day, which we had planned like a week ago. Diane starts flipping out to a point of a full-blown tantrum. She starts screaming at me, and my boyfriend tells us that no, we would not still be going to the beach because she's on her period, and she can't swim, and since she can't, none of us can, and she doesn't care if that bothers us. My boyfriend canceled the trip, or tried to. I told him I was still bringing my son to the beach regardless. We got back home at 3 p.m. When I left, I had a pot of chili in the slow cooker for dinner. I find half the pot gone. Diane had been eating out of the slow cooker. My boyfriend told me that Diane said the only thing she wanted was chili, and that since she was on her period, he had to let her have it. He listened to her. Now, there wasn't enough to feed everyone. We sent the kids to bed at 8 p.m. She comes out at 9, telling her father that she needed ice cream or she was going to snap. He originally said no, and she starts tweaking out, crying, screaming, and waking up my son. He ends up going and getting her the effing ice cream instead of being a parent and snipping that in the bud. Then, this morning, my boyfriend tells her that she can stay home from school again because she's still on her period. I tell him, no, I'm working today, and she interrupted me all day during my last workday. She starts flipping out, screaming at me that I'm not doing anything to make her comfortable when that's what she needs right now. My boyfriend sided with her. It's her first period. We need to learn to navigate it. I told him again that she was not staying here today. He gets angry with me and says that I'm making his life harder than it has to be. His kid is still screaming at me. So I snapped and told him to pack all their stuff up and leave, and I was effing done. I said that I'm glad that she started her period so soon after moving in so I could get a proper assessment on how it would be full time. And I would be damned if I was gonna put up with this BS every month. They both immediately calmed down. She starts crying, saying she was just trying to make me understand. My boyfriend is telling me that I'm being ridiculous. I stood firm, however, and told them to get out. They're now gone, and my house is peaceful. I don't want them back here. My boyfriend has been blowing up my phone ever since, telling me this is just a bump in the road, but I've never been so disgusted by anyone in my entire
That's
life.
actually crazy.
Am I the butthole for not letting them return and telling my boyfriend that I'm done? Alright, the whole stereotype of the girl going berserk when she's on her period is a joke that's like as old as time. But there's a big difference between being moody when you're on your period and body slamming an 8-year-old when you're on your period. Honestly, OB, I'm surprised you lasted that long, because the second she slammed your 8-year-old son into the wall, I would have been like, yo, this is a problem. We gotta have a sit-down discussion. If this behavior continues, you are out of here. So I am firmly on your side, OP. Yes, girls on periods do deserve some kind of lenience, but this is not lenience, this is
Entitlement.
OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your boyfriend and his daughter each get 1.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for kicking out my pregnant daughter to live with her boyfriend since she decided that she wants to keep her baby but not be a mom? I'm 35 and the mother to a 19-year-old girl. We live in a state where abortion is legal. I had my daughter very young and I don't regret it, but I would never encourage it due to how hard it was. I had little to no support, and I would never wish the pain that I went through on anyone. My daughter's father passed away when I was pregnant, and she has no stepfather. It's always just been the two of us. I was kicked out of my home the second that my family found out that I was pregnant. No questions asked. And we've been in conflict since then. I've since moved halfway across the country, and I will not ever be reconciling.
My daughter's been dating her boyfriend for roughly 4 years now. Her boyfriend is the same age as she is,
Alright,
and
I'm
not
done.
a bad kid, but he's still a child in my eyes. They both are. Her boyfriend still
Good
lives with his
attempts, though.
parents and refuses to go to college. My daughter